Imagine this. A young boy sits quietly in his room. His bruises aren't always visible, but they're there, etched into his mind, shaping how he sees the world, how he sees himself. He's only 8 years old, but something inside him feels broken. And one day, when he's angry or scared, he lashes out, not at his abuser, but at a smaller child on the playground. A shove, a cruel word. It's shocking, even to him. Why would a child who knows the pain of abuse inflict it on someone else? Why do some abused children mimic their abusers? Meet David. His story reflects the heartbreaking reality for countless children. David grew up in a violent household. His father's anger was unpredictable, his mother's silence deafening. For years, David was the target. But when his father turned his attention elsewhere, something shifted. David began doing something he never thought he would. He started yelling at his younger brother. He didn't understand why he was doing it. He hated himself for it, but the cycle had already begun. This isn't just David's story. It's a pattern seen in children across the world. This behavior is rooted in a psychological concept called identification with the aggressor. It's a defense mechanism first described by psychoanalyst Anna Freud. When a child experiences abuse, whether physical, emotional, or verbal, they often feel powerless, trapped in fear. To cope with this overwhelming vulnerability, the child subconsciously aligns themselves with their abuser. Why? Because in their mind, becoming like the abuser feels safer than staying a helpless victim. It's their way of regaining some sense of control in a chaotic and frightening world. In one case, study a young girl named Maya. After years of enduring her mother's verbal attacks, began bullying her peers at school. Maya didn't wake up one day and decide to be cruel. Her behavior was a mirror, a reflection of what she absorbed at home. It was her way of processing the abuse, of feeling like she had power in situations where she otherwise felt powerless. This isn't a conscious choice. It's the mind's way of protecting itself, even if the result is harmful. But what starts as a survival mechanism can quickly turn into a pattern, a cycle of trauma that's passed down unless it's broken. So, how can you tell if a child is mimicking their abuser? Here are some red flags to watch for. Sudden aggression. A child who becomes unusually hostile or violent toward peers, siblings, even pets. Controlling behaviors, acting out as a way to dominate others, often mirroring the abuser's mannerisms. Repetition of harmful language, using phrases or tones that seem far beyond their years, likely overheard from their abuser. For example, a teacher once noted a 7-year-old boy telling another child, "You'll never be good enough," echoing the exact words his father used against him. These patterns aren't merely bad behavior, they're cries for help. It's important to recognize that these signs don't make the child bad. They're not the problem. The real problem is the environment shaping their behavior. To understand why this happens, we have to explore the deeper roots. At its core, this behavior stems from survival instincts. When a child is exposed to abuse, their brain is constantly in fight or flight mode, flooded with stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, They internalize the abuser's behavior as a way to survive. Think of it like this: if you were stranded in the wild, you might imitate a predator's growl to scare off threats. Similarly, abused children mimic their abusers to feel less vulnerable, even if it's harmful to others. There's also the concept of trauma bonding. This is when the victim forms an emotional attachment to the abuser despite the pain inflicted. Children, especially, crave connection and stability, even if it comes from the very person who hurts them. In their mind, emulating the abuser might win their approval, or at the very least, keep them safe from further harm. Here's what we need to remember: these behaviors are not a choice, they're not signs of a bad child, they're conditioned responses to an environment that's failed them. And with the right support, these patterns can be unlearned. Breaking the cycle of abuse isn't easy, but it is possible. Children who mimic their abusers aren't beyond help, they're asking for it, even if they can't put it into words. Here's how we can help. 1. Build a foundation of safety and trust. The first and most critical step is to create an environment where the child feels safe. Abuse destroys a child's sense of stability, so rebuilding that foundation is essential. Consistency is key. Children need to know what to expect. Set predictable routines for meals, bedtime, and schoolwork. It helps them feel secure. Speak gently. Even if they lash out, respond calmly. Yelling or harsh punishments only reinforce the fear-driven behaviors they're already emulating. Physical safety. If the child is still in an abusive environment, removing them from harm must be a priority. No child can heal while still living in fear. If necessary, contact Child Protective Services or local authorities. 2. Encourage open and non-judgmental communication. Many children who mimic abusive behaviors struggle to articulate their emotions. Some don't even realize why they're acting this way. That's why it's crucial to create safe opportunities for them to express themselves. Ask open-ended questions instead of, "Why did you do that?" Try, "What made you feel upset?" This shifts the focus from blame to understanding. Validate their feelings. Let them know their emotions are okay, even if their actions weren't. Say something like, "It's okay to feel angry, but let's talk about a better way to handle it." Use creative outlets. Some children can't put their pain into words, but they might express it through art, writing, or play. Give them crayons, journals, or toys. Let them process their emotions in a safe way. 3. Seek professional help. Trauma is complex, and healing often requires the guidance of trained professionals. Therapists who specialize in child psychology and trauma can help children process their experiences and develop healthier coping mechanisms. Trauma-focused therapy, TROWG, techniques like TFCBT, trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, are designed to help children navigate the effects of abuse. Play therapy. For younger children, play therapy allows them to communicate their feelings in a way that feels natural and non-threatening. Family therapy, if safe and appropriate, involving the family, can help rebuild trust and create a supportive environment. Seeking therapy is not failure. It's giving a child the tools they need to heal. 5th, teach healthy coping mechanisms. Children who mimic their abusers have learned unhealthy ways to cope with stress. It's our job to help them unlearn those behaviors and replace them with positive strategies. Teach emotional regulation. Simple techniques like deep breathing, counting to 10, or squeezing a stress ball can help children manage their anger and anxiety. Model healthy behavior. Children learn by watching. Show them how you handle stress in a calm, constructive way. For example, say out loud, I'm feeling frustrated, so I'm going to take a deep breath before I respond. Praise positive behaviors. Reinforce moments when they make good choices. A simple, I'm proud of how you stayed calm just now, can reshape their entire self image. Fifth, foster connection and belonging. Abuse isolates children. It makes them feel unworthy of love, of care, of belonging. Encourage positive relationships. Introduce them to supportive friends, mentors, or family members who can serve as healthy role models. Engage in shared activities, whether it's cooking, playing sports, or volunteering together. These moments rebuild connection. Show unconditional love. Above all, remind them every single day that they are loved, not for what they do, but simply for who they are. Sixth, advocate for trauma-informed care. Finally, we need to think beyond the individual child. Schools, communities, and institutions must take trauma-informed approaches to better support children affected by abuse. Educate educators. Teachers and school staff need to be trained to recognize the signs of trauma and respond with empathy rather than punishment. Policy changes. Advocate for policies that prioritize mental health resources in schools and communities. Support organizations, donate, volunteer, get involved with groups that provide resources for abused children and their families. Every step we take toward understanding and supporting these children is a step toward breaking the cycle of abuse. They don't need perfect solutions. They just need people who care enough to try. Dr. Nadine Burke Harris once said, "The single most important thing we can do is provide children with stable, nurturing relationships. It's through these relationships that healing begins." Children are incredibly resilient. With the right support, they can unlearn the harmful patterns they've picked up and rediscover their true selves. But it starts with us, parents, teachers, friends, and advocates, recognizing the signs, stepping in early, and offering a lifeline of hope. If this video resonated with you, share it. You never know who might need to hear this. Together, we can raise awareness, break the cycle of abuse, and help these children heal. Because every child deserves a chance to thrive, not just survive.